Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Two Old Sexperts. Sharon and I read to you the Cookie Sutra. It's a humorous way to share information on different sex acts and positions, and it's important for those who struggle in understanding what sex acts may look like and what they're comfortable engaging in and abstaining from.
And, I think that this book is helpful, of course, with anyone who has any kind of trauma or people, with intellectual disabilities. Again, maybe trauma or just a basic understanding. Sometimes it's easier than a film or photograph, which can be triggers for someone with a history. So I think that's important. Or someone that's lost a limb or someone that's had a stroke and is looking for positions that are more comfortable. So it serves lots of purposes.
I don't know every sex act there is, and I don't want to know, but this is a book that we kind of leaf through to teach people about these things too.
Yeah, and then you get a good recipe at the end of this book too for cookies. If anybody wants to, some baking. Okay.
Let's do this. Getting ready, a recipe for success. Preparing the body, preparing the mind, preheating the oven. One of the greatest luxuries we can afford ourselves is the time to do things right. To let the anticipation and desire build slowly can only increase one's pleasure in the end. Dough needs time to rise, after all, and so do you.
Bathing. A bath is an excellent way to lose the stresses of daily life and prepare for the pleasures to come. Like climbing into a glass of warm milk, a good bath can work wonders, even on tough cookies.
Great way to relax and loosen yourself to get ready. Grooming, very important. The wise gingerbread cookie truly understands the importance of sweetness and strives to achieve it in all things. After all, if there's one thing a cookie knows, it's how to appear irresistible.
Cookie is shaving. Perfuming. It's important that you be pleasantly scented for your partner, as well as pleasing to the eye. Try something with ginger. That's a good smell.
And the gingerbread looks all cute.
It does look so cute.
Massage, also known as kneading. This tender act may be entirely innocent or can be an exciting way to lead to something more. The experience may be enhanced by the use of oils, cooking oil, for example. A good massage will leave your lover feeling soft and supple as the day he or she was rolled. And then you have
Love it.
a cookie on top of the back of another cookie, kneading his back.
The embrace of a creeper. According to the Cookie Sutra, even a simple embrace can be an effective way to get the molasses flowing. This embrace has been compared to the way a serpent or a vine winds itself around a tree, or the way a cookie will sometimes stick and wrap itself around a rolling pin. The two cookies are facing each other, embracing, and one has its leg wrapped around the waist of the other cookie.
They're very ambidextrous.
Yes, they are.
Kiss that awakens. There are four main types of kisses: moderate, contracted, pressed, and soft. The kiss that awakens announces your intentions to your partner more clearly than the spoken word, which is good because cookies aren't especially big on vocabulary. And so you have one cookie with his eyes closed, kissing, and the other cookie, a big smile, wide eyes, receiving, and they're holding hands.
Oh, such cute cookies. Okay, now we're going to go talk about postures, the basic recipes. These simple recipes for lovemaking are enjoyable for beginners and experts alike. Try them at home. It's said simple pleasures are the best. They are.
The first posture. Often it is the simplest recipes that yield the greatest satisfaction. Like milk and cookies, some classic are tough to beat. So you have one cookie laying on its back, wide eyes and big smile, and another cookie laying on top of the cookie, wide eyes and big smile.
The sheep's posture. According to the sutra, when a man enters from behind, his pleasure is increased. When the man is a gingerbread man, it is doubly so. This position is a simple way to add variety and excitement, not unlike colored sprinkles or cinnamon dots. So one cookie is on its knees, leaning forward, and the other is on its knees directly behind, mounting from behind.
It looks like a pleasurable.
It does. They're both smiling. Well, one is saying, "Oh," and the other is smiling.
Sharon, I just love this. You're the one who
Me
brought
too.
me this book too. You realize you walked me right into this one. All right. Splitting of a bamboo. Stretching can be an important prelude to sex, or if crunched for time, the two may be combined. But one must not stretch one's partner's leg too far, for not everyone is a gymnast, sadly. I was thinking that. A cookie on their back with their legs straight up in the air, and then the other cookie holding their legs straight up in the air. And Shawn McGill's thinking, my knees would probably snap in half if I tried something like that.
Exactly. But some cookies are more flexible than others, I guess.
They
Yeah, that
sure
one.
are.
The pair of tongs. The accepted wisdom of all cookies state everything is better with a little something on top. As your confidence in the sutra grows, so too will your enjoyment of one another. In the bedroom, as in the kitchen, one should never be afraid to mix things up. And in this little illustration, one cookie is sitting on top of the other cookie, and they're embracing.
The second posture, as with the first posture, this position is as pleasurable, as it is simple to achieve. Begin as with the first posture, which we read before, then simply lift and separate. This position has also been referred to around the kitchen as the wishbone. So there you have it, another cookie on its back with its legs straight up in the air, and another cookie on its knees around the rear end.
Of the first.
It's really hard to try to visually illustrate this for our listeners, but
It it is. I hope everyone invests in the book because it's delightful. And when I think about some people that might have some difficulty understanding the postures, that if they look at these pictures, it's absolutely delightful and helpful.
it really
All
is.
right, the snake trap. In this posture, each takes a hold of the other, both promising not to let go until mutual fulfillment is achieved. In this way, the two become as one, yet the calorie count remains unchanged. Well, that's good. Now they are looking face to face, I believe. No, it's hard to describe that
I don't
position.
know what the hell's going on in this one.
Well, I think they sat face to face, and then one and engaged, and then one turned to the side. So they're sort of twisted around each other.
I see it now.
The
Yes,
snake trap.
that cookie though, he has his head like turned all the way around. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, I think they probably do a lot of flexibility training, those cookies. Okay.
Or they're double jointed. Either way.
Yes.
The wife of Indra. Not all gingerbread men are created equal, or gingerbread people are created equal. Named for Indrani, wife of the Hindu god Indrana, this position allows for maximum penetration, even if the gingerbread person is not well endowed. However, this does make one wonder about the Hindu god Indra. So you have a cookie on its back with its legs up, knees bent, the other cookie on its knee, again, going from sort of behind. Both, again, very flexible.
Indeed, they are. Now we're moving to advanced recipes. Postures number 2. The Cookie Sutra has always maintained that the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. Thus, the following recipes were created to stimulate the imagination, stir the senses, and inflame the appetite.
I don't know if I'm ready for the 102 course just yet. The Congress of a Cow. To cookies, cows are sacred, for without them there would be no milk. It follows then that this position must be highly pleasurable for it to be so named. It may not be quite as good as milk, of course, but then what is? You have a cookie bending at the hips, hands down to the ground, rear end up in the air, and another cookie again entering from behind. Why do I always get the entering from behind ones?
I don't know, Shawn. The ostrich's tail. which is real still puzzling me a bit. To make cookies, dough must first be rolled. To achieve this position, backs must first be rolled so that only the woman's head and shoulders are touching down. With her legs positioned over her partner's shoulders, he may be tempted to nibble her toes. However, he must be careful not to take too big a bite, for that would be wrong. So her legs, she's on her back, and her legs are on his shoulders, and he is entering again. Can't tell if it's from behind. He is entering. The other cookie is entering. One of the things that tickled me about that one is, if someone is actually engaging in that position, but it's so funny that he may be tempted to nibble her toes because she's a cookie.
Or
she
there's
is.
a foot fetish. Who knows? One of
Oh,
both.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
In the
Yes.
spot, certain texts have referred to this as the greatest posture of all for mutual gratification. However, this position does require some degree of flexibility. Here we go again. And it is not easily attained after baking. Where is, quote, the spot, question mark. Regrettably, some secrets even cookies will not reveal. So these cookies have love icons in their eyes. So this must be it right here is pounding the spot. And you have two cookies,
Yes.
legs over each other, seated next to each other, and they're definitely having a pleasurable time.
Yes, indeed. They have found the spot. The swing. Some ancient texts have referred to this position as one in which the woman acts as part of the man, but in reality, the woman is in fact acting as part of the swing. So there's not male and female, there's two people on a swing. And as everyone knows, swings are fun. But the person on the bottom is the swing, and the person on the top is sitting on them and swinging back and forth, front and back.
They're swinging all right.
It's
Oh,
true.
here we go.
Oh, God.
The tripod. Many ancient texts speak of the importance of balance in life, and the Cookie Sutra is no exception, for without balance, this position would be impossible. Beginners may wish to lean on a wall of their gingerbread house for extra support. So, the one ginger cookie, hand up against the wall for support, of course. And here we go with this leg straight up in the air, and the other cookie up against the cookie, doing its cookie thing.
With the foot on the shoulder and standing on one leg. Oh my goodness. Those cookies. Okay, rabbit grooming. Given their reproductive prowess, it's a wonder more positions aren't named for rabbits. This posture requires good leg strength from the woman. However, by rotating hips a little, you can find the extra effort worthwhile. This posture is also excellent for those who are self-conscious about the faces they make during sex. So these cookies are not facing each other. One is laying down, and the other is sitting on top of the cookie, but facing in a different direction, facing toward the toes. And they are, in fact, it's holding the feet of the other cookie. So that is rabbit grooming.
All right, so we have the wheelbarrow. The true practitioner of the Cookie Sutra knows inspiration can come anytime, any place. Still, our hats are off to whoever first dreamed this up. The wheelbarrow is an ideal position for those who are intimate, athletic, and on a flat surface. So they are literally doing the wheel like we did as kids, the wheelbarrow race,
Yeah,
but they're having
exactly.
sex.
Yes, exactly. And they're smiling. Yes,
That's
but
a
they
lot of motor planning required for this one.
exactly. And a flat surface definitely would be helpful there. Race of the member. Love is about support, not competition. With this in mind, the cookies have managed to concoct a race in which everyone wins. For truly it is written, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game that counts. And the one cookie has its feet on the shoulders of the other, and the one is on top of the other one. But I think the whole point there is everyone doesn't have a complete ending, maybe.
The suspended Congress. When one is baked light and airy, endless variations become possible. This Congress should first be attempted with good back support. However, once proficiency is attained, you may become free to add further movement, like jogging. Wow. So it's like you're carrying her over the threshold almost, but you're having sex with her instead of carrying her through the door. That's what it looks like to me.
Yes. And if you have such energy, you could jog your way through the doorway. Bending the bow. This position has also been referred to as the rainbow's arch, in which the man lies at a right angle to his partner and she holds onto his legs. It's important to engage in this position slowly and carefully, however. Otherwise, the bow may not be the only thing that gets bent. So you do want to be careful when the one cookie is on top of the other. They're both facing the same direction, and the one is holding the feet of the other and kind of stretching out. So you want to be very careful that you don't injure your partner's bow. Your back, your bow, or his arrow.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, here.
To the inventive cookie, even everyday kitchen items hold inspired possibilities. The scissors, for example, is a highly pleasurable and relatively simple position. Less successful adaptations include such inspired positions as the sifter, the pastry bag, and the rolling pin. And it literally is what it's saying. It's two people up together, general area is touching one another, and their legs are extended as if they're scissors.
Autumn dog. Oh my goodness. As the cookie's experience and expertise in the ways of the sutra increase, so does the enjoyment in discovering ever more adventurous ways to share pleasure. Ultimately, the practitioners will ascend to a higher level, also known as showing off. And these cookies are definitely showing off. They are, how to describe it? Hands on the floor, their bottoms risen up, but together. Their tushes are touching each other, and their rear feet, their legs are touching, but their hands and heads are away from each other.
I mean, what are they doing? Playing Twister, and they just ended up like having
I
sex?
know, I often think about Twister, like
Having achieved fulfillment, it is time to bask in the afterglow. Like cookies, everyone needs time to cool down. This is the moment to relax and let your mind wander freely. Some think of sleep, and some think of food. But for the true student of the Cookie Sutra, it is time to pursue life's second greatest passion, baking. Remember always that true sweetness comes from within. The cookies are lying next to each other. And it almost looks like they're having a cigarette.
it does. Yeah, they're both having a cigarette.
And they're covered up with their sheet, which looks like a Kleenex or something.
Yeah.
Which I think it's adorable. It is absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
And how do you make talking about sex positions adorable? I mean, you
Well,
can't.
with cookies, and for anyone who is interested, we won't read it because it's long, but there is actually a recipe, bake your own cookie sutra. And and they're delicious. So if anybody wants to try that, that is part of the book as well. Yeah, I just find it adorable and helpful. I mean, it is cute and it makes us laugh, but when people are uncomfortable with sex and sexuality and sex acts or have experienced trauma, it is really an excellent way to say, this is good, this is fine, this is normal, and it's healthy and it's fun. You might want to try this. But I think it's quite adorable.
Said so many times too, depending, people with physical disabilities and limitations. This is a great way to kind of explore what might work best for them. I work with a lot of people who are autistic and have a lot of motor planning challenges. And even if they're dating, they get really nervous. What if my body doesn't cooperate and I'm not able to have sex with my girlfriend? Yeah. So we'll leaf through and look through this book to look at, is there one position that might be just a little easier for them to consider whenever they find themselves in that moment too.
Yeah, and this book is, I think it was written in 2004, so it's not, I mean, I've been using it for quite a while. I don't know if that's right, but and I've been using it, I guess, at least 10, more than that, maybe.
I remember saying on one of the podcasts, talking about how we learn about sex. And, some of us got information in high school, the health class, and boys and girls got split up, but you didn't really learn about sex acts. You learned
No.
about puberty, really, is what they taught
Yeah,
us.
and plumbing, basic plumbing.
Basic, but I never will forget. I guess my dad was a hippie Hellcat back in the day, but he had the Joy of Sex book, and I remember it being in the china closet, and I would sneak into the china closet and hide on the corner of the couch on the floor and look through the book,
Yeah,
because it illustrated and talked about sex positions.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we had the joy of sex as well, and I'm sure our kids found it. Or maybe we talked to them about it. I mean, we talked to them about a lot of things, but it's just interesting. I mean, one of the reasons we're doing this whole podcast is that sex is a difficult topic for so many reasons. And we really have to talk about the hard stuff. And we're all dragging around all kinds of stuff with us. And when we don't want to pass that on, our negative experiences, we don't want to pass that on to the people we're supporting. So when you can just I don't mean make light of something that's unpleasant, but find a way out through it and out the other end, and to go on with your life and have a good sex life. If you're able to do that, why not? Why not help people?
I just finished this book that I've been working on for 12 years. And at the end, I was just wrapping things up and writing the conclusion. And I just found myself writing about how we have to give people information. We owe it to them. We have to respect them enough and presume the competence of all people, but provide them with the information. That's what our job is. That's what our role is.
Absolutely. Because this is the problem. You're uncomfortable, you don't want to talk about it. But I mean, these are people who are trying to protect their family members, and they think the way to do that is to keep the information from them. And as we both know, it does the opposite. It puts them at greater risk. The less they know, the higher the risk is them to be taken advantage of. And so many ways to do that. I love it. I love this little book. And I think almost every agency I've worked with, I've suggested they get it, and most of them have.
And when we talked about sexual consent, on one of the prior shows that we did, with the tool, the instrument that I use, the one from David Hinsberger, the first indice that we're looking at is, do people know about different sex acts? And it's not to really gauge what they know, but it's to gauge if they know what they're comfortable engaging in, and with whom, but also what they would abstain from, and seeing that they have some type of information. This little book is, at first, people, they don't want to talk about that. It's embarrassing and it's
Yeah.
scary. And so whipping out this book and just kind of leafing through and looking at, all right, let's look at how the cookies do it, right?
Yeah.
People would get a little more comfortable. They're laughing, and then they're going, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do that. Or, yeah, I might be okay with that. And
Exactly.
it's not covering oral sex, it's just covering sexual positions. But
Exactly.
it takes that burden off of the discomfort a little bit.
Yeah. And when we talk about consent, and we've all worked with people who were traumatized and victimized and what have you. And I think this book could be used by someone in a negative way with a child. And so that's something, that you could say, oh, look at these cute little cookies. You want to try this? But there are always people somewhere that are going to try to, take advantage of someone else. And I mean, there's so many people I know that didn't even know they were being abused because they had been their whole lives. So they didn't get that there was something wrong. But I do think the humor in this book is delightful. And the smiling cookies are,
A whole nother set of issues, though, too, where someone says, my neighbor did that with me, or my dad, did that with me, or whatever, too. And sometimes that can happen. We've
yeah,
talked before about how do you handle situations like that, because when you talk about, excuse me, sexuality, you're running the risk of opening wounds related to
Yes,
trauma.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like the cookie illustrations. I did have someone in a group once. It wasn't with the Cookie Sutra. They were with little plastique figures that I make. I have two males, two females. I think she had selective mutism actually, but she wasn't speaking to anyone. And no, they knew there was some history of trauma, but nobody really knew what it was. And at one point, she took the male figure and the female figure and she slammed them, slam, and started to cry. And I mean, clearly she had been violently raped. And but she, at least I mean, as horrible as that was, it was a step toward getting out of it instead of it being buried inside her. And we do continue to love this work, don't we? We really do.
Do, and I go through periods where I feel completely burnt out and I want to cash in and run to some foreign country and sit on the beach or something.
Well,
Pulled back in, pulled back in, pulled back in. You've been retired for how long, Sharon?
God, I don't know. I mean, the fact that I'm 80, I think that I just keep finding that funny. I don't know why I keep mentioning that to anybody because it seems funny to me. But like, I don't want to just stop. Why would I stop doing something if I could help? If I can help people, and especially to lighten up the the vibes around sexuality. And I just think about these families that didn't not the a person in this group of families that didn't want me to talk about the hard stuff. That's why I'm doing this, because we have to. We have to. It doesn't mean stop believing what you believe. It's think about it and don't pass it on. Let's not burden our family members, people we care about.
Do you think we've made a lot of progress?
Well, it's funny because when I think about that, I mean, one of the first things I think about are my grandkids, and I have 11, and they're mostly adults. There's 5 of them in college at the moment, but they are such strong, open-minded, funny individuals that they really are. Certainly, I see that, but then I think about this woman who I think her effort to protect her child is getting in the way of allowing her child to have a life. She thinks her child can't have a life because of her disability. And, it's not true because she's has a disability. I mean, the people we know that have had disabilities that are fabulous. Oh my goodness. Just life wouldn't be the same without them.
And I think parents, even professionals, are never going to stop worrying about people. With sex comes risk, whether you're disabled or not. That's where knowing what you want and not settling for things too is really important.
Yeah, and some people, with disabilities will not stand up to their family members because that's all they have. That's the only family I have. But often the family members will end up saying, I never thought about that. I just never thought about that. I just want to protect my child. And or if you give them that information, they're going to want to do it. And they can't. Well, why can't they? Because they're like a child. They'll say, well, they don't have a child's body. No, they're not like a child. They're not a child. I mean, I think we have to be understanding and open-minded and loving to everybody across the board. People who are saying this is, you can't give people this information, and to the same people that are saying, can you come and help us figure this out? But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's gotten better?
It still seems like we're not putting as much emphasis, and Jim Hovan always on healthy sexuality. He always talked about put healthy sexuality on the front burner. We're just putting so many fires out in terms of people who get in trouble, and then we're
Yeah,
working backwards.
it is working backwards. And I think about the safer options, which was a good thing to do. But if we had started out with educating people and about their bodies and their body functions and relationships and the law and public and private and all of that, and not just the people we support, but the whole community of families and direct support staff. I mean, all of that, we could have avoided a lot of people who offended or were victimized.
I do think, looking at the bigger system, we've talked about this before, and implementing policy that is going to promote some level of change is paramount at this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. We did get that nice little shout out from the Hickeys. That was very nice.
You've had a good life, Sharon.
I have. I really have. I have so much to be grateful for. And it's funny because I see other people my age. Just got together recently with a small group, and we all talk about, this ache, this pain, this knee replacement, this, that, and that's reality. But when I look at not what I've lost in any way, and there's some things that I don't have as much of, whatever. But oh my goodness, I mean, 6 kids, 11 grandkids, and working in this field and working with you. I mean, I've known you for a long time, but I never really. I mean, this is a whole other level. It really is. It's just it's a family. You're my family now.
Thank you to my dear friend and podcast partner in crime, Sharon Potter. If you're interested in the Cookie Sutra, you can search for it online. It's by Edward J. Please join us next time as Nancy Thaler joins us in talking about policy to support for sexuality and abuse prevention and safety.
Ooh.